Welcome back. You're watching SA Today with me, Unati Pagyashe. Well, Socio-Economic Rights Institute of South Africa has condemned warrantless raids conducted by the police under Operation Show Your Receipt. This as police, accompanied by members of the SANDF, continue to conduct raids in Vosloorus in Ekurhuleni. Now, to discuss this, we joined via Zoom by Khululiwe Bhengu from SERI, and she's an attorney there. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, ma'am. Now, what rights do people have if the police raid their homes?
Good afternoon, Unati, and thank you for having me. So one of the things that people can do when the raids are happening is to refuse to give consent, because their consent is still required. But the problem with that is that it will lead to their arrest, because they'll be arrested for obstruction to justice. So what they can do is to just try and document as best as they can these raids as they happen, so that they are able to pursue any civil claims that may arise out of the raids.
I mean, what do you make of these raids? I see you saying that these are warrantless. So where does the law come in terms of protecting just those that are being raided? I mean, we've heard stories of people who have had some of their own, personal belongings being confiscated by police under suspicion of having been looted in the recent unrest. And some people also claiming that during these raids, members of the SAPS have actually helped themselves, to their money, and also just the way in which they are conducting these raids. NDF also being told that they are, rough with occupants of the various homes. What do we make of this and the conduct of law enforcement authorities?
So, the conduct of just having the raids themselves is unconstitutional, because it infringes on a number of rights. The first of those being the right to privacy. So everyone in South Africa has a constitutional guaranteed right not to have their home or person searched without a warrant. It also infringes on the right to dignity, as you've described the manner in which these raids are taking place as a clear violation of people's right to human dignity. And it's also a violation of the right to equality, because they're done indiscriminately, and they're done with a target of abusing the rights of the poor. For example, if you look at some of these places that were looted, there's close proximity to suburbs as well as to townships, but the police and the SANDF specifically choose to target the poor, and they're only raiding the homes of those who cannot defend themselves. And one other thing that is a problem about these raids, you can see from the conduct and the manner in which they're taking place that they're not done with the aim of pursuing any prosecutions against these people who are suspected of looting. Because if they were, the police would first identify themselves, seek for the consent of these people who live in these properties, and they would also mark the items so that they know that they got this particular item in this household. So when it comes to prosecution, the person whose home the goods were recovered from is able to, in trial, prove or disprove whether they owned these goods. But if they're just taking and it's not identified what was taken from whose home, there's not going to be any fair prosecution that comes as a result of those raids.
Now, in terms of just maintaining the status quo or upholding the rule of law, I mean, a lot of organizations have called, this a very delicate balancing act, because at the one time you are dealing with people that are, as you've said, whose socio-economic standing is very much, deficient, and they are in need. These are people that ordinarily are probably sitting under the breadline. But at the same time, you have to maintain this rule of law. I know that the South African Council of Churches, for instance, has asked for amnesty around, those that have been arrested for looting, just so that the law can, somehow go easy on them and allow them this period to return some of these goods. But at the same time, this is seen as something that will undermine the rule of law. Where do we hold the balance within this matter?
So I'm glad you're actually mentioning the issue of the rule of law, because it's a theme that has been going around in the country in the last few weeks with the arrest of the former president. What the rule of law actually means is that the Constitution and the rights that are entrenched therein apply equally to everyone. So even if you're suspected of having looted, it doesn't mean that your rights should be limited unjustifiably. The state and the people who are supposed to implement the law are supposed to ensure that the rule of law is upheld by applying the rights that everyone is afforded. For example, for the people that have been arrested for suspicion of looting, they have the same rights that every person who's been arrested has. They have the right to be heard before a magistrate within 24 hours of their arrest. What we have seen in the past weeks is some people go for 7 days without even having that first appearance. That is a clear infringement of those people's rights. As well as when you look at the rates, a person has a right not to have their personal property searched without a warrant. So the law enforcement needs to just follow the rule of law, and in doing that, they need to try and find a balance. But that balance cannot be at the cost of infringing people's guaranteed constitutional rights.
Khululiwe Bhengu, thank you so much for your time this afternoon and just bringing us up to speed in terms of what we have been seeing over the past few days.